Hi everybody, and welcome to the first ever honey disposition craft video tutorial. Today we'll be learning to make one of my favorite items from our Etsy shop, this super cozy, super fuzzy, and so easy to make chunky knit blanket. All right, let's jump in. So for this project, we're gonna need about 8 skeins of this big chunky blanket yarn. To start, we're going to just make a simple slip knot, and I would leave about 6 inches of tail. We'll come back to that later. So to make a slip knot, we just pull through, and once we have that, we're gonna make sure the tail is to the right of us, and we're gonna pull the yarn through to make another slip knot. And we're basically gonna do this 22 times. And we're trying to make these as even as possible. All right, so that brings us to 22 slip knots. That creates this nice braid. And this is the foundation for our blanket. So once you've made 22 of these knots, feel free to flip it around so that your skein is to the right of you and this slip knot is on the right side. Now, instead of making another slip knot in this direction, we're gonna make it up. So we basically feed it through this, but instead of pulling it to the right, we pull it up and bring the yarn over. So now we're creating a row going in the other direction. So now turn your skein, take it to the left of you again. So you're working this way, and take your tail. And I like to do this in 2 steps. So I'll use my left hand to go into the top of the braid. So each of these slip knots that we did made one a little hole, right? And so this is, at this point, you'll find out if you might have done this a little too tight. So you can always go back and start again. But we're gonna find the first hole, which is right here. And I'm gonna reach my finger through, grab the tail and pull it through and bring it up. So I'll show you a few more of what this is gonna look like. Go through, pull it up. Go through, and pull it up. So now we're creating a row that's coming up out of this first braid, which is kind of cool. And we're gonna keep doing this until we get to the end of our row. And this is what we want to see starting to form. All right, now as you can see, I am at the end of my row. So now we have our bottom braid and we have all these little slip knots sticking out of every place where there can possibly be one. So now what we're gonna do, now we're on the left side again, we've made our way back to the left side, and we're essentially going to just create another row. So on our last one, we just pull through to make another slip knot going up. And now we're gonna repeat what we just did, working our way now from left to right. Again, just trying to keep each loop consistent and close to the size of the last one. All right, now we're at the end of our blanket on the right side. So we've made our way back and we're going to, you guessed it, feed this through and pull it up and then to the other side, to the left, to create our next row. And then we're gonna put our skein over to the left, pull this down, and do this same motion working in the opposite direction. And we're gonna keep doing this, going back and forth across the blanket until we've used all 8 skeins, or are getting just about done with all 8 skeins. All right, here we go. So as we're reaching the end of our first skein, we should have a few inches of our blanket coming along. And the great thing about this yarn is it hides everything. So to attach our next skein, bring it in, and we're basically just gonna tie the ends together. So we're gonna go like this, give a little tail on each of them, and tie a knot. And be sure to pull really tight so it doesn't come apart later in your blanket. All right, and then we're just gonna cut the ends close to the knot while leaving just a tiny little tail. There's one, and there's two. Now we're just gonna keep going on with our blanket and we won't even notice the knot. So if you want to add another color, which is one of my favorite things to do with this blanket, you can add a new color every time you add a new skein, so you can create stripes. I would wait till you get the end of a row to attach that next color so you get even striping. But if you're using the same color like I am right now, as you can see, if you continue on in the middle of the row, you won't even notice the knot. Once you get close to finishing off your 8th skein, you should have a little pile of yarn left. This will be just enough to finish up your blanket. So, starting from the left side, you're gonna chain up just like you've done 2 of the first loops. After you have these 2, you're gonna take the outermost loop and pull it over the inner loop. Now we're gonna chain up the 3rd loop, and again, pull this over. We're gonna keep doing this till we get to the end of the row. This is creating the braid that we basically started the blanket with, so it's finishing it off just like how we started. Okay, getting to the end of this chain here. This is the end of our blanket. Yay, we made it. So you're gonna take this tail, whatever you have left. I have quite a little bit of yarn, but better to have too much than too little. So you're gonna pull it through, and we're just going to create one of our favorite moves, a knot. And once you have that knot, just pull it through. There we go. That's the end of our blanket. Now it's time to weave in these last tails. So you should have 2 of these, one from when you first started the blanket and one from where we just finished it. So take your tail and just weave it right through. So I just like to twist mine around so that it fits the look of the braid, and so you don't really notice it too much. All right, and once you're feeling pretty secure about that, feel free to just go in and tie a knot. Just like we've done to attach our new skeins. And when that feels really secure, I would put your fingers just like that, finger length distance. So hold it and cut. Make sure you're cutting the right side of the tail, always. And there you go, your blanket's done.